Prague, one of the most visited destinations in Europe. Join me as I take in the city's rich history of culture, art and architecture, as well as a few surprises. So we arrived now in Prague, so let's go and see the city. Prague's Old Town Square dates back to the 12th century, being founded as a central marketplace. Perhaps its most famous feature is its 15th century astronomical clock, which is found on the southern wall of the Old Town Hall. So here at the Astronomical Clock, known as the second most overrated tourist attraction in Europe. I thought it was pretty good though. The skeleton ringing the bell was quite nice. The Old Town Square is full of interesting buildings such as the 15th century House at the Minute with its ornate sgraffito facade where Kafka lived with his parents for 7 years. Next we took a trip to another of Prague's most popular sites for visitors, the Charles Bridge. Ordered by King Charles IV in 1357, the medieval stone arch bridge was once the only way of crossing the river Vltava. So I'm here at Karlov Most, the Charles Bridge, busy at all times of day, as you can see. On the western bank of the river lies Malá Strana, also known as the Lesser Town. Heading south from the bridge you'll find the Lennon Wall. After John Lennon's murder in 1980, an artist painted a mural of the musician. The wall developed into a place for free expression through graffiti and street art during the city's communist era. Having goulash and potato pancakes. It was so good I got another one. After the sun had set, we went to sit by the river and got quite a surprise.
Oh no! Is it like a
After googling giant rats Prague, we discovered these weren't actually rats, but South American rodents called Nutria. There's lots of these little rodents called Nutria that are apparently taken over the river in Prague. The next morning we walked through Prague's Jewish quarter, checking out the statue of Franz Kafka sculpture by Jaroslav Rona, as well as the famous Spanish synagogue built in 1868. Across the river is the Prague Metronome, a 75-foot kinetic sculpture which is a fully functioning metronome. Built on the site of a former monument to Soviet leader Stalin, the site of the metronome has amazing views of the city. Beyond the metronome is Letna Park, with peaceful walkways and a lake, as well as the intriguing Hanavsky Pavilion, built for the Prague Jubilee exhibition in 1891. Next, we walked towards the Castle District, but noticed a festival along the way. The summer palace and gardens were commissioned in the 1500s by Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand I for his wife Anne. Both died before the palace's completion, but the splendour of the building and the gardens remain until the present day. Next to the palace is the inner castle district. The main square, called Hradčany Square, is a sight to behold. The thing with Prague town centre is it's almost too much beauty. Everywhere you look there's some kind of beautiful building, whichever direction. Too much to take in. Built in the Gothic style, St Vitus Cathedral is the largest and most important church in the country. Construction started in 1344 and was only completed in 1929 after almost 600 years. St George's Basilica is the oldest church building in the castle district, being founded in the year 920. Below the castle is the Waldstein or Wallenstein Palace Gardens. Meticulously designed and in the Baroque style, these 17th century gardens are a delight to walk around. One of the most interesting parts of the garden is its grotto and dripstone wall with eerie faces carved into it. It has also been speculated that there are secret passageways accessible through the wall. Here at the Franz Kafka Museum, a famous author born in the 1800s. Kafka was a German language writer whose style was so influential it even has its own adjective, Kafkaesque. His stories' themes of alienation, existential despair and helplessness in the face of absurd and incomprehensible bureaucracy have gone on to inspire many writers. We're in this corridor now. There's lots of writing on the walls and mirrors down there, so it's really disorientating. The museum holds artefacts including his letters, books and drawings, but is also designed to bring about the surreal feeling of reading a Kafka story with its eerie atmosphere. Close by to the castle district is the Kampa District, which has parks, markets and also the Kampa Museum, which holds collections of modern art including sculptures and paintings. Walking through the park we encountered David Czerny's baby sculptures, which bring a fittingly surreal vibe to the adjacent Kampa Museum. Not all of the exhibitions in the museum were open at the time we were there, but we were able to see one of the permanent exhibitions which houses works by renowned Czech artists, abstract painter František Kupka and sculptor Otto Gutfreund. We headed south along the peaceful riverside path. So we're on Střelecký Island now. It's an island in the centre of the river. You get to it through a staircase which is in the middle of the bridge. It's a really beautiful green island. I was happy to see Nutria on the island, and this time in daylight. Brought from Argentina to the UK in 1927, some escaped into Europe, eventually becoming an invasive species in Prague. Hello. What's this? Although cute, experts advise people not to feed them and warn of the risks to the local ecosystem, in addition to the risks of disease and bites. We crossed back to the eastern side of the river, another area rich in architecture, including the Art Nouveau style Goethe Institute. Perhaps the most famous modern building in Prague is a so-called dancing house, designed by architects Frank Gehry, Vlado Milunic and Eva Jirikna. It was built on the site of an apartment bombed by the US in 1945 when they mistook Prague for Dresden. Construction was completed in 1996. One of the great things about Prague is the amount of street sculptures there are, such as the man hanging out, what's the other one?
The man hanging. The hanging man.
The hanging man. The man hanging out and the hanging man. Titled Slight Uncertainty, this hanging sculpture by Michal Tepak is easy to miss, but is another small piece of magic in the mosaic of the city. David Czerny's Man Hanging Out is another nearby suspended sculpture. Depicting Sigmund Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis, Czerny said he chose Freud for his 1996 sculpture as the intellectual face of the 1900s, as the world looked forward to what was to come in the new millennium. The head of Franz Kafka, a 10-metre high kinetic sculpture, is another Czerny work in the centre of Prague. The sculpture is comprised of 42 steel panels which rotate in different formations. The Municipal Hall is a beautiful Art Nouveau building in the city centre, which serves as a concert venue and civic building. As the sun set on the city, we had our final meal before leaving. Prague's mixture of grand architecture, urban nature and whimsical art left me enchanted. Once again, thanks for watching and see you next time.